Architecture was a bit of a rebellion move. Age-old question.
Did the chicken come out of the egg or the egg came out of the chicken? This side of yours I never knew. Your facade is very different from what the person you are.
Architects can become very, very good psychologists.
You really put your facade on very well. Hello, welcome to Design Dialogues with Viva. I'm Faisal, National Head Projects, Viva Composite Panel Private Limited. Today I have with me an esteemed guest and a good friend of mine, Mr. Kunal Mohan Naithani, Principal Architect of WSA, White Studio Architects, Delhi. Hi Kunalji, welcome to the show.
Hi Faisal, thank you for having me.
Thanks for giving us this opportunity and allowing us to be at your studio and to start this wonderful podcast. I've seen that over the years you've grown from the time I've known. Studio was expanded. It's very happy to know that. So how did it all begin? How come architecture? Where did it all start?
Architecture was never on the cards per se, especially when we were getting into college. And I come from a family of some very esteemed IITians and IIMs and all these graduates. My father side of the family. And architecture at that point was a stopgap arrangement for a lot of engineering and IT aspirants. And for me, I never had the aptitude for it. So architecture was a bit of a rebellion move, and under the garb of telling my parents that, okay, I'm taking a gap year, preparing for IIT. But then I actually started enjoying it. And it just, one thing led to the other, and then I just carried on with it, and I guess it turned out fine.
Okay. So which college did you graduate from for your architecture?
I graduated from an institute which is now known as the Ansal Institute, but the college is still known as Sushant School of Art and Architecture in Gurgaon.
Okay.
It was a beautiful campus. Back in the day, our campus was literally, Gurgaon was, a green foresty area, and it was a very tiny campus. Now it's a big university. But there are very few people who know that campus and appreciate that campus from my batch and a few batches before.
So as you mentioned in the previous answer, when you said that it was a rebellious move to get into architecture, your family is full of IITians, intellects. How much role did the college play in bringing that interest into you for architecture? And what was the role of the college, and what was your fondest memory in college?
Honestly, I don't know if this will be the right thing to say, but ragging. College ragging back in the day.
Okay, very interesting.
I know it's got a very negative connotation to it, but it used to be quite rough back in the day. But it helped us make very good friends with our seniors.
Yeah.
Because the entire process was very harrowing for a month. But after that month, we knew the entire college. And after that, the entire attitude with which, so our dean at that time was Professor Man Singh Rana, who was, I think, one out of 2 Indians to have worked with the great Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay.
And he was a great man. And he was, the spearhead of the institute. And he ensured that every student never treaded the normal path, and he used to challenge us.
So he was pushing you all
in our creativity, and it was a very unique way of education. So yes, that was a bit of a catalyst also to carry on with architecture.
I didn't expect the reply from you saying that ragging would be something of a fond memory, because I remember myself when I passed out in 96, so I did my engineering from 92 to 96. Ragging was least to say bad, very bad. But it did make us close to our seniors, and you rightly said, and it brings a mental toughness in you.
Yes.
If you take it on the positive way.
Yes.
Apart from your college, where you mentioned about your principal, your dean, who else has been an inspiration for you to get into architecture?
So my aunt, my Masiji, used to be working for Huda, Chandigarh administration, when we were kids, and she worked for the longest time. She was the chief architect of Chandigarh also. And as a kid, I used to see a lot of her drawings. Whenever in the summer we used to go to Chandigarh, I used to see some drawing work. It used to fascinate me a lot. And somewhere I think that was there in my subconscious. So when I actually was reintroduced to architecture during college years, somewhere it reignited that childhood memory, and that did play a subconscious part in me taking that path.
So how many years has been from college till date now?
So I graduated in 2003, so it's been about 22 years.
Okay. So 2 decades plus.
2 decades plus.
And what is the biggest challenge you see as an architect or practicing architecture?
There are a lot of challenges, and the world, the way it's changing, the challenges are changing every day. Initially, the challenges were to generally get awareness and respect in the profession during the initial years. Then we battled the computer age, where a lot of our clients used to say, "Kaam to computer nahi karna hai." Now we're battling the Pinterest and the AI age, where clients come to you and they think they know everything. They'll show you 5 images and
so much of
say,
information available. Yeah.
So, but there are positives and negatives to all these aspects. So if a client comes to you with Pinterest images, you take it positively and you say, okay, at least I know the direction, because there are a lot of design styles, at least you understand that. So I wouldn't call them as challenges only, but yeah, these are some challenges that you face, and the biggest challenge is the education system. It has not evolved. Architectural education is not involved, and I hope somebody can really take that up. And
so you mean it is not kept up with the times?
It's not kept up with the times. There are issues in terms of how and who educate students. So when they come out, it takes a bit of field time for them to get used to it. It did with us as well, but that same problem is continuing today. So that is a problem that can be solved. It'll tend to have a cascading effect.
Once you finished architecture and you must have worked as an architect, so when did you start WSA?
WSA was started in 2007. So I had done about 4 years of work in a couple of companies. And after a point, you start realizing when there is something more that you need to do. You need to be a bit more free. It comes with its challenges of complete responsibility, because it is a practice which is not very well established. Architecture practices have only started surfacing in a nice way about 20 odd years. So building a practice is not easy, but there is sometimes a calling that comes and you just take the plunge. So we did that in 2007. And yeah, it's going to be 2 decades to the practice in about a couple of years now.
Wonderful.
Which sounds very
So what
strange.
has been your design philosophy of WSA?
So we personally, mine and what we try to sort of carry forward is a very clean design philosophy. We don't get into a lot of ornamental and very ornate kind of designs. Most of our designs are very clean, straight lined. I would say very, very modern, and very sharp and contemporary in its design language.
Okay. And every architect has somebody he or she looks up to. So for example, some people look up to Zaha Hadid, and some people look up to the legends like Norman Foster. And so is there anybody in particular you look up to as an inspiration from the legends who've been in this field?
So I did a thesis in college on Zaha Hadid. She's a huge inspiration. Then in the modern day, there is a architect by the name of Bjarke Ingels, Bjarke.
Okay.
Big. And why just name the international ones? My the person who really supported and kind of encouraged me while I was working with him, Ashwin Alva. He's still practicing. I do draw a lot of inspiration from him as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, these are a few people.
Zaha Hadid has been an inspiration not only to architects. She's been an inspiration to, I think, to the entire building material industry, construction industry.
Even in the fashion world, she's big in the fashion world now, lighting design.
She's par excellence. She's left a landmark impression on people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you design a project, does form follow function or function follows form?
Age-old question.
Did the chicken come out of the egg or the egg came out of the chicken? Yeah.
Well, form has to follow function to a point, Zaha Hadid and a lot of masters come from a Western developed world, where they can afford to have, function follow form. But we are sensitive to the environment that we are in, and we are habitat builders at the end of the day. So, at the stage that our country, or let's say the entire Southeast Asian area is, form still follows function, but we're pushing that envelope as we go along.
Very, very interesting reply. I'm going to take this reply and keep it whenever I talk to architects, though this is copyrighted on you. When you design a building, there are so many aspects you look into, obviously. What is the role of a facade? How important do you see facade in a project on an overall perspective?
That's bread and butter for us. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the first impression that you get of anybody's. For example, if there is a client who wants a house built, or there is a developer who wants a building built, and this has happened very often, we try to gauge the personality type. And the facade is the first impression that anybody else gets of that individual, that resident's or the building owner's personality type. So it is very, very crucial in terms of the success of a project. If you can build and design a facade which matches the personality type, then you've succeeded in what endeavor you've taken up as a project with your client. So it is the most crucial thing in any project. Everything follows from the facade.
Oh, wonderful. So it's good to know that an architect is putting so much of focus on the facade. So do you consider facade to be the selling point of a project?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is the biggest thing. It is the first impression that you get of any building for any consumer who wants to buy in real estate, invest in real estate. The facade is the starting point of anything.
Okay. So what are the materials that you look when you do a facade? What are the materials you shortlist from your side?
See, it keeps changing over time. And the great thing is that the entire industry of facade materials is also evolving greatly. We used to use a lot of natural stone and natural materials. With a lot of sustainability kicking in, it sometimes becomes a challenge to use a lot of that natural stone and natural material in cladding. Metal cladding and ACP is something which has developed great technology. You at Viva have developed that technology of replicating those materials, and wherever the question of sustainability of using a stone arises, there is always an alternate that is there to use it in terms of a metal sheet, which is cleaner, simpler, easier to install. So yeah, we use a mix wherever there are sustainability issues in terms of green ratings and things like that, and certain kinds of stone which are too far away from the site. We have the options now of using alternates like metal sheets that replicate the stone.
I've been from the beginning of my career in the building material industry, and I've from day one interacted with architects, developers, builders, but the primary focus has been on the architects. I've felt over a period of time, even in the recent past, they generally feel that ACP has its limitation when it comes to shades and textures. But from your previous response, what I understand is you have a completely different viewpoint of it. Where does this viewpoint change, and what was that project that made you feel no, stone can be done on ACP as well?
So there is a project which we're doing in Goa, and we wanted to use Kadapa stone for the project cladding, which is also locally sourced. But timelines were such, manpower and skilled labor is very different in Goa as compared to a metro city to clad a stone under the slab horizontally. And you guys just popped up, landed up, and we saw that you just could replicate the Kadapa very cleanly on an ACP sheet, and we that's a very interesting project. We're using that, and the way it's coming out, it actually nobody can tell that it's actual Kadapa or ACP that we've used. Yes, there were restrictions with ACP color shades. I would say about 5 to 6 years back, but I think that's changed. I think the technology has improved, and there's a huge level of customization, I guess, that you can do with ACP. So I don't think it's limited anymore. So I've experienced it, so I can tell you that.
Okay, so hearing from you looks like you've had a good experience on this project with Viva. Thank you so much for saying that. But what was the actual experience like, if you could put it in a few words, from the time you conceptualized or the person from Viva approached you? How do you rate this experience overall as an architect?
It was a very easy experience purely because if I compare it to sourcing stone, right? You need to find the correct block, you need to find the correct supplier, you need to find the correct guy to install it. Whereas it's much easier using using your panels, because we basically got a sample of the stone and it was just replicated on the sheet.
Correct.
And then we could just use it. The texture, we wanted a texture on the sheet, that was achieved. We wanted one sheet which was clean, like a polished, that was achieved. So it was fairly easy for me and my team to kind of, just take it up and just, it took a lot of load off us as compared to.
So if you had to sum up the whole experience in one line, what would it be?
It was a great experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. You made it so simple. So does ACP excite you for the future?
It does very much, especially with the kind of innovation that's coming in, the kind of materials, the cotton steel, the rusted nickel, the copper, dilapidated copper finishes. I mean, there's a lot that can be done. And the world has been using metal cladding for interiors and exterior for the longest time, and very innovative materials. But for example, today I found out that you can do terrazzo. And the kind of terrazzo that you can, so we were big users of terrazzo. And so yeah, it's exciting to know that there is a material which helps us architects to express ourselves freely without thinking about where will the material come from, where will the stone come from, do I need to get it from Italy, not get it. So yeah.
But it also requires an architect like you with a very open mind, wanting to explore into new material, making the project become more easy, functional, right? As you rightly said, sourcing stone is not easy.
Yeah.
And installing it in a place like Goa takes a lot of effort, good skillsmanship, while ACP can be done a little more easier.
Correct.
But so that's why we've also been pushing this anvil, right? To explore into new materials, we'll see how we can replicate them. We've been really doing a lot of R&D, thanks to the fraternity of architects, especially because as you guys are so directly related to the look and feel of the building, you're the ones who's pushing us, right?
Yeah.
So every time an architect comes to me and says, Faisal, can we do this? Or tells my team, can we do this? We are all charged up.
Yeah.
Because once we see that on the real project, it's a great satisfaction. How do you see sustainability playing a role in projects in the coming times?
Well, it has to be. I mean, we here at White Studio Architects, whatever we design, we always have an eye. Sustainability is, is a choice that you make, and it's a mandatory thing that you do as a culture. We have had sustainability inbuilt into our culture, but somewhere, I think the West has swept in, and this whole, consumerism and aspect and use of a lot of plastics and high energy absorbing machines, lights. As a culture, I think we mentally are already aligned with sustainability. I think we've been knocked off our charts with the Industrial Revolution as a culture. But I'm happy that we're moving back. And so it's a very critical thing. In fact, we've finished at least 2 buildings that are platinum rated, USGBC.
Wonderful.
And it's crucial because the planet, this is the only place that we have.
Yes.
And no matter we go to Mars or wherever we go, the fact is that this is a limited resource we have, and we have to respect it.
We need to preserve it.
We need to preserve it, and need to just respect the planet.
What is a common myth that comes with the field of architecture that you want to debunk?
Okay, the common myth is that architects have this fantastic lifestyle. They've got this whole, movie type thing of suddenly flying off to the desert and having a camel ride and driving a car, then going on a flight. There are probably 3 or 4 architects in the world who have that kind of lifestyle. Most are stuck in office.
Most of the
trying to
common
get-
public perceives the same for all of you.
Yeah, so it's not that. It's a lot of hard work. But it doesn't seem like hard work because we're all passionate individuals. So we enjoy it. But yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
How do you stay up to date with what happens in the field, no? With the advancements?
So we try to innovate on random things. When we're doing a design, we will just try to, put a rainbow colored film somewhere. And then it's like we throw a challenge within our team that, okay, let's call 20 people and figure out where we can get this.
Okay.
That helps, and more often than not, we're not disappointed because we realize that it's not a unique idea. Somebody's done it somewhere before.
Okay.
And the more you start doing that, the more innovation starts coming in. The more you start looking outwards online, the more information and updates you get. So that's a good way to just stay updated, is to keep challenging yourself.
Okay. So I'm sure work as an architect is hectic, very demanding. So what do you do outside your work? No, you don't have to disclose everything.
Well,
How do you relax? How do you unwind?
it's very strange. I play video games with my son. I'm a big video game buff.
Oh my
So him and me have a lot of video game sessions
On the PS5
on the
platform?
PS5.
Oh, wonderful.
Sometimes we team up, sometimes we play against each other. He's 6, but he still kills me in FIFA. And it's surprising how these kids are. I like to read. I read a lot. I'm a very spiritual person. I like to read a lot about deep Indian cultural history and spirituality, etc. We travel. We like to travel quite a bit.
What are your favorite destinations for travel?
Well, I'm by ancestry, I'm a Garhwali
Okay.
from Uttarakhand. So I just, whenever I get the opportunity, I love going to the hills.
Okay.
Apart from that, I like cold places.
Okay.
So Europe, Southeast Asia, because my family likes
Beaches?
warm places.
Oh, what is the recent favorite book you read?
So that's very interesting. I read a lot of, there's an author called Devdutt Patnaik. I read a lot of his literature. I used to read a lot of astrophysics. Very initial age, I read, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I am now reading a book in very, very Shuddh Hindi by, what's that artist's name? It's again about Hindu mythology, but it's really, really interesting to read Hindi.
To be
in a
knowing
proper
you
book.
for 3 years and this side of yours, I never knew that there would be so much of spiritual side to you, Hindu mythology and Shuddh Hindi. This is very different from the personality you actually facade. Your facade is very different from what the person you are.
Yeah.
What has architecture taught you? There's something that we learn from our work. I feel work is salvation. Work is karma, is what we all live for, and it gives us a lot of joy. What has work taught you? The one lesson that you want, even your peers or maybe the youngsters who want to take it up, any profession, that what has architecture taught you?
So this is a discussion I have a lot of times internally with my wife also. It's and a lot of architects might not realize it, but they would know it, that architects can become very, very good psychologists.
Oh,
We
okay.
deal with some of the most headstrong, rich, arrogant sometimes people, while at the same time you are dealing at a site with somebody who's a bricklayer. So architecture has taught a lot of humanity to me, if I may say that, because we deal with a complete range of people, and how each and every person of a different level of society functions. So it humbles you sometimes when you're having a meeting with somebody who's worth $1 billion, and at the same time you're walking across and talking to somebody who's laying bricks.
Wonderful.
And
Well said.
you have to respect everybody. It's taught me how to respect humanity.
Oh, ma'am, I'm really happy that we planned this podcast with you because, to be honest, it's opening up a lot of character traits of yours which I never could see through. You really put your facade on very well. What is the one word that means success to you? What is your success mantra?
That's a tough one. I've never thought of it that way. I think success mantra is, for me, it's just process. You have to keep going deep into everything that you do. We're always running. In fact, my team is obviously behind my bike saying this guy's so chaotic, because you are always deep diving into every single issue. A drawing is ready to be sent at site, but there's a little nick that you see somewhere, and you deep dive into that and you say,
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail, following the process. If you have these two things, that I don't think success is going to be an issue. If you bypass the attention to detail and you bypass processes, that's where you're gambling a little bit. So stick with the process, stick and give your attention to detail, stay involved. Everything else will fall in place.
Honestly, this was a wonderful interaction I had with you, and I'm privileged that I could be here facing you and representing Viva. Apart from projects which we all the time discuss, Stone and ACP, and how can we make new things. To understand more about you and your wonderful character traits and the kind of deep person you are, I wish this conversation could have gone on for a few more minutes. But now we'll make things a little more lighter. We'll shift towards a little of the fun part, where I'm going to be asking you 20 rapid fire questions.
Oh God.
And let's see how quickly you answer them. So starting the first question, coffee or chai while designing?
It keeps switching. It's strange. It keeps switching.
I need one decisive answer.
I would say filter coffee.
Wonderful. Early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
If you were not an architect?
If I was not an architect, I would be an actor.
Oh, wonderful. You would have made a good one. What's the weirdest place you've drawn a design or thought about it?
While getting a massage.
Oh, wow. Very interesting reply. 3 things that always you carry on your work bag.
My iPad, my iPencil, and some paper to scribble on.
Okay. One tool you cannot live without.
My iPad.
Do you judge buildings when you travel?
All the time.
Most overrated design trend?
The colonial, ornamental, residential, European design.
Okay. What is your design superpower?
Simplicity.
Oh. What is your happy place in any project?
When the facade starts to take shape.
Oh, very interesting. One thing architecture has taught you about life in one word.
Humanity.
Oh, wonderful. One myth about architects you want to break in a few words.
Okay, this is a tricky one. One myth. Our lives are not as fancy as you think they are.
They're not all about supercars and private jets.
No, they're not. They're not.
You go to stress relief after a tough day of work.
Video games.
Favorite building in the world?
Favorite building in the world would be... Wow, that's a really tough one. The one we finished for Sleepwell in Noida.
Good one, I like that. Minimalism or maximalism?
Minimalism.
What is your comfort food after a long day of work?
Maggie.
Oh, interesting. Something you've always wanted to learn but you haven't yet.
A musical instrument.
Interesting. What is your go-to midnight snack?
Chocolate.
Dark or just, this is not the rapid fire, but
Normal milk chocolate.
City life or quiet countryside?
Well, if an option is there, quiet countryside, of course.
Last one of my favorites, hand sketch or digital?
Well, that's an interesting question because now I hand sketch on my iPad. So it's hand sketch on digital.
So it was wonderful having this interaction with you, Kunalji, and it was a great opportunity and privilege for me and Viva for knowing the other side of you. Now a lot of more people also will know this. And what did you feel about this interaction?
So, like I said, I've never done this before, and I really appreciate the fact that you made it. I was very skeptical about it, but you made it very comfortable. I want to congratulate your team. I mean, it takes a lot of effort. Everyone is aligned with it, and yeah, thank you for making it comfortable for me and not feeling like I'm doing something out of the box. It was a very, very nice thing. Everybody, your team, yourself, you just made it a very comfortable experience. So thank you so
And
much.
thanks for the way you've interacted and been that very honest and candid person and brought out yourself in front of everyone. And it was very, actually, I would say, privilege, humbling to know the other side of an architect, the humane side of you, and where you are such a deep person. It was truly a privilege interacting with you, and look forward to a long-term relationship and many more interactions with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Kunal.